My boy Darnell used to kneel on the garage floor beside me, handing me tools he couldn't even name. "Hand me that wrench, Pop." He was 9. He wanted to be me so bad he walked the way I walked. That was 1987. Darnell is 48 now. He lives an hour away in Columbus. The last time he called me was 5 months ago, and it was for money. When I said I didn't have it, he said, "No worries, Pop." Haven't heard from him since. My name is Earl Mackey. I'm 72 years old, and I live in Dayton, Ohio, in the same 3-bedroom ranch house I bought in 1989. I keep it clean. I keep the lawn cut. I wash my coffee cup right after I use it, and I put it back in the cabinet because that's how I was raised and that's how I am. Nobody's coming over, but the house stays right. That part doesn't change. I'll tell you what my weeks look like. Wednesdays, I meet my buddy Curtis at the diner off Salem Avenue. Sundays, I go to Mount Zion Baptist. The rest of it, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I fill it up however I can. I mow. I fix things that don't really need fixing. I tighten a faucet handle. I sweep the garage. I watch the evening news and eat dinner on a tray table in the living room. Same tray table I've had since '96. Thing is older than some of my grandchildren. The phone sits on the kitchen table, face up, right next to the salt shaker. I check it in the morning when I make coffee. I check it after lunch. I check it before I go to bed. Not because I think somebody's going to call. I know nobody's going to call. I check it the way you press on a bruise, just to make sure it still hurts. And it does. Every time. I have 2 children. Darnell is 48, lives in Columbus. Charisse is 44, lives in Indianapolis with her husband Kevin. I have 3 grandchildren. Marcus is 19. That's Darnell's boy. Ayana is 12 and Brianna is 9. Those are Charisse's girls. I'm telling you their names because they're real people. They exist. They're out there living their lives right now, today, while I'm sitting in this kitchen talking to you. And not one of them has called me in I don't know how long. Now look, it took me a while to see the pattern. Years. Because when you're in the middle of something, you don't see the shape of it. You just feel it. This low, steady ache that you can't quite name. But once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And what I saw broke something in me that I don't think is coming back together. On the shelf in the hallway, I've got a stack of old checkbook registers, the handwritten kind with the little carbon copies. I kept every one going back decades. I haven't opened them yet, but they're there, and they've got the whole story in them written in my own handwriting and dollar amounts. I'll get to that. I want you to understand something first. I want you to understand what this family was. Darnell was my first, born in '78. Big-headed boy. I say that with love. He came into this world hollering, and he didn't quiet down for about 3 years. But I tell you what, that boy followed me everywhere. Everywhere. If I was in the garage, Darnell was in the garage. If I was under the sink with a wrench, Darnell was right there beside me, handing me tools he couldn't even name yet. I can still hear him. 9, maybe 10 years old, kneeling on the concrete floor of the garage while I'm working on the furnace. He says, "Hand me that wrench, Pop." He had it backwards. I was the one who needed the wrench, and he was supposed to hand it to me, but he wanted to say it. He wanted to sound like me. That boy wanted to be me so bad he used to walk the way I walked. Feet out a little, shoulders square. His mother used to laugh about it. Said she had 2 Earls in the house. That's the memory that lives in my chest. That boy on the garage floor, reaching for a wrench. Charisse came 4 years later. Different from Darnell. Quieter, sharper. She'd sit at the kitchen table doing homework, and I'd quiz her on spelling words while I cooked. She was good, too. Hardly ever missed one. She had this way of looking at you when she was thinking. Real still, like she was running the word through some machine in her head before she said it out loud. Smart girl, always was. Now look, we weren't wealthy. I want to be clear about that. I worked at a heating and cooling supply warehouse for 31 years, started loading trucks when I was 23. Ended up a floor supervisor, which sounds better than it was. It meant I did the same work, but I also did the paperwork. My hands still ache from the loading dock years. These knuckles, you can see the scars. 31 years of metal shelving and hand trucks and Ohio winters in a warehouse with a heater that worked about half the time. But the house was alive. That's what I want you to hear. Saturdays in the summer, we'd have cookouts in the backyard. Nothing fancy. Hot dogs, burgers, my mother's potato salad recipe that I still make to this day, even though there's nobody here to eat it. The neighbor kids would come over, Darnell and his friends running through the sprinkler, Sharizi sitting on the back steps eating a popsicle with her legs crossed, looking grown at 6 years old. The screen door slamming every 30 seconds. The TV on inside, the grill going outside, kids arguing about whose turn it was. That sound, that full sound. I would give anything to hear it one more time. My own father wasn't around. I'm not going to get into that. But I'll tell you this. I swore I would be different. And I was. I was at every football game, every school play, every parent-teacher conference. I worked overtime so the kids could have what they needed. Cleats for Darnell. School clothes for Sharizi. I didn't think of it as sacrifice. I thought of it as the job. That's what fathers do. You give what you have and you don't complain about it and you don't keep score. At least that's what I believed. The giving never stopped. And for a long time I was proud of that. Pop, I need new cleats. Here you go. Pop, the car broke down. Let me see what I can do. Pop, can you help me with rent this month? I said yes, every single time. Every time. I thought that's what a good father does. You don't let your kids struggle when you can help. You just don't. Marcus, Darnell's boy, and he used to sleep over on weekends when he was little, 7, maybe 8 years old. I'd make him pancakes in the morning. The boy liked them silver dollar size, like little coins on the plate. He'd stack them up and count them before he ate them. I got 11, Pop. Every Saturday morning that kitchen smelled like butter and maple syrup and that boy's laughter. You hear what I'm saying? That was my life. That was what I had. My mother, Loretta, passed in 2019. She was 89. Good long life. Hard life, but long. She came up from Alabama. The whole family did, 2 generations back. She worked cleaning houses until her knees gave out, and then she worked answering phones until her hearing went. She saved every penny she didn't absolutely have to spend. When she passed, she left me an inheritance, about $45,000. Now, to some people, that's not much. To me, that was more money than I'd ever had at one time in my life. I'm a man who retired at 64 on a pension and Social Security. $45,000 felt like my mother was still taking care of me from the other side. I thought, this is my cushion. This is my safety net. This is the thing that keeps me from worrying every time the furnace makes a noise or the car won't start. Then the calls came. Darnell first. He had a business opportunity. Needed $12,000 to get in on it. Some kind of partnership with a guy he knew from the dealership. Darnell works car sales, always has, always will. He was excited, talking fast, the way he does when he wants something. I gave it to him, $12,000, because that's what I do. That's what I've always done. The business never materialized. I don't know what happened to the money. And that's the part that gets me. I didn't even ask. My son took $12,000 from me, and I never once said, Darnell, what happened to that investment? I just let it go because I didn't want him to think I was keeping score, even though apparently I was the only one not keeping score. Charisse called next. She and Kevin needed help with a down payment on a house. Then Kevin lost his job. Then the girls needed things. School, activities, clothes. I gave, and I gave. And every time I gave, something wonderful happened. The calls picked up. Darnell would call just to talk. "How's the house, Pop? How's your knee?" Charisse would send me pictures of Ayana and Brianna. I felt close to my children for the first time in years. I felt like I mattered to them again. I didn't question why. I should have opened a bank instead of being a father. At least a bank charges interest. By late 2021, the money was gone. All of it. My mother's $45,000. I was back to pension and Social Security, same as before. I mentioned it to Darnell one day, not accusing, just honest. "I'm back to budgeting, son. The cushion's gone." He said he understood. The calls slowed down, not all at once, like a faucet being turned, one quarter turn at a time. Darnell went from calling every week to every other week to once a month to nothing. Charisse went from sending pictures to sending texts to sending one-word replies to sending nothing. It happened so gradual that by the time I noticed, the silence was already complete. Now here's the thing I have to say, and I don't enjoy saying it. I did this to myself. Part of it. I enabled this. I never said no. Not once. I never set a condition. I never said, "Come see me and we'll talk about it." I never said, "You can have the money, but I need you to bring Marcus by on Saturday." I just wrote the check. Every time. I made it so easy for them that when the easy part stopped, they didn't have a reason to call. I taught my own children that the relationship runs on money. And when the money ran out, so did the relationship. I see that now. I see it clear as day. And seeing it doesn't help one bit. The last time I talked to Darnell was about 5 months ago, a Tuesday evening. He called, small talk for about 90 seconds. "How's the house? How's the knee?" Then the pivot. Marcus needed money for college application fees. I said, "I'm stretched thin right now, son. I just don't have it." Darnell said, "All right, Pop, no worries." The call lasted 4 minutes. I've replayed it in my head 100 times. No worries. Like I'd failed a transaction and the customer was moving on to the next vendor. No worries. That was the last thing my son said to me. No worries. So this is what it looks like. This is what the quiet looks like from the inside. I wake up around 6. I make coffee. I check the phone, face up on the kitchen table, right where I left it. No notifications. I knew there wouldn't be. I check anyway. Same way you check a lock you already turned, just to be sure. Father's Day, 2025. I want to tell you about that day because I think about it all the time. I got up. I put on a good shirt, the blue one, the one I wear to church. I went to Mount Zion. Pastor Elaine preached about honoring your parents. I sat in the third pew and I listened, and I didn't say a word to anybody about what I was carrying. I came home. I checked the phone. One text from Charisse, 2 words. Happy Fathers. Not Happy Father's Day. Not Love You, Daddy. Not How are you doing? 2 words. And she didn't even finish the phrase. Happy Fathers. Like she started something and couldn't be bothered to complete it. Darnell didn't text, didn't call, nothing. I sat on the porch with that phone in my hand for an hour, 1 hour, looking at those 2 words. Then I went inside and made a sandwich. That's the part that gets me. I got dressed up for 2 words. I put on a good shirt to come home to Happy Fathers, and a sandwich I made myself. If I still cook too much on Sundays, I can't stop. I make enough food for 4 people. Pork chops, greens, cornbread, the whole thing. I put the leftovers in containers and stack them in the fridge. By Wednesday, they go in the trash. Every week. I know I'm cooking for people who aren't coming. I know that. But my hands don't know it. My hands still think it's 1997 and there's a family sitting down at that table. Some things your body won't let go of, even when your mind already has. I told Curtis about it, at the diner, on a Wednesday. I didn't mean to. It just came out. I told him about the calls slowing down, about the money, about happy fathers. Curtis listened. He's a good man, known him 30 years. He sat there stirring his coffee and he said, "Earl, you can't buy people into loving you, not even your own kids." I didn't speak to Curtis for 2 weeks after that. Then I called him. I said, "You were right, and I hate that you were right." He said, "I know." That's all he said. I know. We went back to the diner the next Wednesday like nothing happened. That's how men our age do it. You say the hard thing. You sit with it. You show up the next week. One night I pulled out the checkbook registers, sat at the kitchen table under that overhead light, the one that buzzes a little. I opened the books and I started going through them, my own handwriting. Every entry, the date, the amount, the name. Check to Darnell, $12,000, June 2020. Check to Charisse, $8,000, November 2020. Check for Marcus's football camp, $1,500. Another check for football camp. Check for Kevin and Charisse's deposit. Check after check after check. I didn't add up the total. I didn't need to. I just closed the book and sat there with my hands on top of it, these big, beat-up hands on that little book. And I said, to nobody to the kitchen, that's what I'm worth. Whatever's in that book, that's the number. Marcus. I want to talk about Marcus for a second. That boy. I paid for his football camp 2 summers in a row. He used to come by. Not a lot, but sometimes. I'd make those silver dollar pancakes and he'd count them like when he was little. He graduated high school last year. I sent a card with a $20 bill inside. I don't know if he got it. He hasn't been to this house in over a year. The boy used to sleep in the back room. Now I don't even know if he'd recognize my house. I don't even know if he'd recognize me. Darnell. I'm talking to you now. I added it up, son. Not the money, the calls. You called me 41 times in 2020. That was the year your mama's money came through. You called me 11 times in 2022. That was the year it ran out. 41 and 11. That's not a relationship, son. That's a receipt. I sat at this table and I counted, 41 and 11, and I thought, is that what I am to you? A number, a balance, something you check when you need something and put back in the drawer when you don't? But here's what I need you to hear. I don't want the money back. I never did. Not the $12,000, not any of it. I didn't give it to you so you'd owe me. I gave it to you because you're my son, and I thought that's what fathers do. I was wrong about a lot of things, but I wasn't wrong about that. What I wanted, what I still want, is for the calls to keep coming after the money stopped, that's all. I wanted you to call me on a Wednesday and say, "Hey, Pop, how's the knee?" and not need a single thing from me. I wanted to be your father, not your bank. Charisse. I don't need a long text from you. I just need a real one. I need you to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Daddy, how are you?" and mean it. Not on a holiday, on a Tuesday. For no reason at all. Just because I'm your father and I'm 72 years old and I'm sitting in this house by myself and I would like to hear your voice. That's the hardest part of all this. You want to know what really keeps me up? I'm afraid to call them, my own children. I'm afraid that if I pick up this phone and dial Darnell's number, and I know it by heart, I've known it by heart for 20 years, he'll think I'm the one who needs something. The pattern has gotten so deep, so baked into everything that even me reaching out would feel like a transaction. A father can't call his own children because they'll think he wants something. You hear what I'm saying? I can't call my own kids. I don't want your money. I don't want you to fix anything. I don't want you to feel guilty. I just want you to call me on a Tuesday and say, "Hey, Pop, how's the house?" That's it. That's the whole thing. The checkbook is closed. It's on the table next to the phone. the two of them sitting there together like evidence. I get up, I wash my coffee cup, I put it back in the rack, same as I always do. I wipe down the counter. The house is clean. It's always clean. I keep it that way. Not for company, and there is no company. I keep it that way because it's the one thing I can still control. The lawn is cut. The floors are swept. The dishes are done. Nobody sees it. But it's right. Before I go to bed, I walk to the front door and I turn on the porch light. I've done it every night for 30 years. Started when Darnell was in high school coming home from football practice. I'd leave the light on so he could see the steps. I kept doing it when Charisse started going out with her friends. Kept doing it after they both moved out. I still do it, every single night. Nobody's coming home. I know that. I turn it on anyway. If your phone is quiet too, if you're sitting in a clean house with a full refrigerator and nobody to feed, I see you. You're not the only one. And if you haven't called your father in a while, and you know why you stopped calling, maybe pick up the phone tonight. Not because you need something, because he does. If you know this quiet, share this with someone who understands. And subscribe. There are more of us than anybody wants to admit.